They're the people who keep the lights on and the world humming. 58,000 electricians from around the world competed in over 1,500 qualifying events to get here. And now, the best of the best will face off to crown the top electrician in the world. It's the Ideal Electricians National Championship from Orlando, Florida. The floor is set and the crowd is charged for the 2019 Ideal Electricians National Championship. Welcome all you wire nuts. I'm Jason Benetti here with the always electrifying Scott Karen. The greatest electricians are here vying to be named this year's Ideal Electricians National Champion. And Scott, this year the competition is bigger and better than ever.
And this year, Jason, on a global scale, electricians from 5 different countries have spent the past few months qualifying for a chance to compete for their share of over $600,000 in cash and prizes.
That's exactly right, Scott. Now, here's what's in store for us today. We'll kick things off with the Student Apprentice School Challenge. We'll see the nation's top journeymen compete in the Professional Contractor Challenge. Then, it's the Student Apprentice and Professional Individual competitions, and we'll round it out with that brand new competition this year, the International Finals, where the top electricians from the United States, Canada, China, and Australia will go head-to-head to crown the best electrician on Earth. The National Championship is created by Ideal. It's for electricians, by electricians. And the school of the winning student apprentice team is getting 5 first-year scholarships for aspiring electricians. And Scott, that's going to help. There's already a shortage of electricians, very much in demand, and it's really a great career path for a lot of folks, which you know, right?
Hey, that's what I did. The future of the trade is out in full force this year, and the student apprentices are absolutely vital to this industry. They just get better and better each year.
All right, time to head to the floor. The student apprentice teams are about ready to kick off the school challenge.
2, 1.
Countdown is on, and here we go. First step here.
First step is they're breaking out the bundles of PVC to make sure they can start laying things out, measuring it. You can see he's got the electrical panel in his hand.
Scott, let's take a look at the schematic breakdown of the Student Apprentice School Challenge, brought to you by Lucas Oil.
For the Student Apprentice School Challenge, they're doing under-slab work on a simulated housing structure. They'll need to first install an electrical panel. From there, they'll run pre-bent PVC conduit to a service receptacle across the ground to the meter main. From there, they'll install a PVC stub, PVC conduit to the location of the cold water barn, and 2 raceways for future electrical installation. Conductors will need to be run from the meter to the electrical panel, ground rod, and cold water barn. For this, they'll have only 60 minutes. All work must meet National Electrical Code standards.
Let's meet a few student apprentice teams. Scott, we've got some new faces here up against some Ideal champions. Team 575, JATC out of Portsmouth, Ohio, Justin Donley and Jordan Finfrock.
This is the talented duo. Jordan competed last year, and he looks ready to break out. This is Justin Donley's first year competing at championship weekend, but I'll tell you, these guys really have a good vibe together.
And more talent from the north. Team Clydesdale out of Minneapolis, Yufeng Yang and Brandon Moss.
Appropriately named, too, because they are the dark horse. They've got the speed and energy it's going to take to tackle this thing. Don't count them out.
We wouldn't dare do that.
The Tenacious Turtles out of Minneapolis, Angela Bissonette-Penna and Jacob Thonis. These are the favorites this year.
All right, now, Scott, they're working with some raceway here. Can you tell me what we're seeing?
They're using PVC conduit right now, Jason, and what they're going to be doing is sealing it so they can get a really tight fitting. The Tenacious Turtles are doing a great job here as well. You can see that Angie, they're going to be sealing it with some PVC glue so you have no moisture getting in. And when you're working with electricity, you can't have any sort of moisture in that PVC conduit. When you glue that PVC, it takes minutes to set up. You can't undo it. and they only gave him a little bit of pipe. They didn't give him enough to make a bunch of mistakes. You can see that Angie is making sure she's getting a nice tight fit on that pipe.
And they got this stud knocked out. Looks like you came from the back, right?
Yeah.
And we're going down to the floor now. Our third member of our team, Chip Wade, for an update about what's going on. Chip?
The student and apprentices are really hard at work, and they have got a tall order. I can tell the thinking is just now starting to turn into action because their hands are all busy, and I can tell you they're all a little bit stressed. Back to you, Jason and Scott.
Yeah, these competitors sure are pouring their hearts and souls into this competition. You can see it down on the floor. Now, in the electrical trade, electricians spend 4 to 5 years, depending on where you are as a student apprentice, working and going to school simultaneously. Then, after completing the apprenticeship, they become professionals, known in the trade as journeymen.
Becoming a journeyman is not easy to achieve. It's a big accomplishment to get there. They've put in years of tireless work and study to earn that license. So when they achieve that, they've truly earned something big. The judges are accomplished as well. They're both union and merit-based electricians and instructors selected from training schools all across the country to be a part of the championship weekend.
When we come back, we'll find out who wins the hard-fought Student Apprentice School Challenge. The Ideal Electricians National Championship is brought to you by Ideal Electrical, the Electricians champion. By Ram Commercial, built to serve. And by Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive.
Lights, camera, action. Lights come first.
There's about 3,200 feet of cable in each machine. Every hour, it can put out 660 kilowatts of electricity.
This video board is serviced for a total of 4,000 amps of energy powering up this huge thing.
Power is a big important part of what goes on here. The event lighting up top is 1.25 million watts of light.
There's nothing wrong with working with your hands. There's a lot of satisfaction in it. We're constantly striving to be better electricians and also better tradesmen.
Some really awesome stories about these tradesmen, and you can check them all out online in Ideal's Wire to Wire series. And there's Daniel Becerra, who can be seen in that series working today alongside his teammate Troy Kanan as they're putting the finishing touches on their build-out here in the Student Apprentice School Challenge. We are in the final moments, 20 seconds remaining. What are the finishing touches here?
You got to get those wires on the devices right. He's torquing down those lugs. Once you set the torque, you're supposed to write the torque on the panel itself in marker, and you can see that he's really wrestling with that wire, making sure that everything gets bent and put in there.
5 seconds left. Remember, time is just a portion of the score, but we have hit zeros, and boy, are they white.
Throwing their screwdrivers down, Jason, and you can see how it's a lot of work, and they finally get to look up at all their fans, give each other a high five. That's nice. Really nice to see.
Good camaraderie from the teams as the competition comes to an end. Now, because no teams finish, they'll all lose points for time. But remember, time is only 10% of the final score. Judges are doing a final review on safety and overall craftsmanship. The Student Apprentice competition is now in the books. Our own Chip Wade has the winner announcement.
The winner of the school and team challenge are the Tenacious Turtles, Angela Bessonette and Jacob Thones.
Congrats to the Tenacious Turtles. They won $20,000 and are bringing 5 scholarships back to Minneapolis JATC. Such a great competition, and here's a look at how they finished. Now moving on to the Contractor Challenge as these pro competitors are heading into the arena now.
Last year, this event was so grueling that no teams finished. This year, however, they're in 2-person teams. They're doing under slab work, basically on a simulated housing structure. They'll have to complete the same steps as the apprentice teams did, installing conduit for future electrical installations and conductors as well. The pros will be using 1-inch rigid metal conduit running from the electrical panel to the outlet, from the meter to the cold water bond, and the meter back to the electrical panel. Additionally, the pros will need to install a grounding bushing on both ends of the conduit. For this, they'll only have 60 minutes. All work must meet National Electrical Code standards.
Who wins? $40,000 plus for their contractor ideal cash and a 2019 Ram ProMaster. Kellenberger Electric, the favorites this year, having won 2 years in a row, but the three-man team has been forced to split into teams of 2 this year, and now we have former teammates going up against one another. Greg Anlicker and Will Barnett are sticking together, leaving their powerhouse Clay Noga with a new teammate, Keith Runkle, and that could be an opportunity for an upset across the board. The pro team's competition is set. Let's head down to Chip to kick it off.
4, 3, 2, 1, go! Woo!
And off we go. What's the first thing we're going to see in this competition for the pros?
They each have their tasks, and they're running out to grab them. You can see they're grabbing the tools that they need to get into that room and get started. They got pipe and drills to set up, so here they go.
All right, what are we seeing right here?
So he's knocking out on the bottom of the electrical panel with his journeyman's pliers, the knockout to put the pipe inside there. You can see he has his fish tape. So they're not ready for these tools, but they're getting them into the prospective locations where they're going to need them. That's part of setting up for work. You can see they got everything lined up.
Here's the All-Stars out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Michael Fox and Andreas Penna. Their strengths being determination and efficiency.
Did you just see how he's trying to put everything he's got? It's taken 2 of them. So that is 1-inch rigid metallic conduit. That you can't get any stronger than that. That's really tough. And you can see they got 2 people on that bender trying to make that 90-degree connection.
Watch Jeremy Welly working on that panel, and down it goes.
Things like that are going to slow them down. They don't have a lot of time here.
That right there is Kellenberger to Keith Runkle, Clayton Noga, the team that was split up from last year. Jeremy Welly in the gold there. Jay Beecher, Minneapolis as well.
He's wrestling with that knockout. So there's only 2 pieces of metal that knockout is being held in by. And they've got to fatigue the metal with the pliers, and that's how the knockout comes out.
Kellenberger won out of Elgin, Illinois. Greg Anlicker and Will Barnett. Kellenberger's won 2 years in a row, but that was when they had a team of 3. This year they're down to 2 and are now up against their former teammate Clay Noga on Kellenberger 2.
Pushing that in. Look at the amount of pull on that fish tape. So he's got to do everything he can to push that into the pipe. And then on the other end, he's doing everything he can to pull the wires out of the pipe. So he's got an extra conductor. It seems that, is it possible that he forgot a conductor and now he's trying to add it in after the fact? That's what it appears to be.
So how hard is that to do?
Really hard. A lot of times you're better off just removing the wires and starting over again. Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's actually pulling in another conductor that he must have forgotten.
Oh, look at this. Kellenberger 1 having to pull out all the wires, Scott.
It looks like to me that Will actually pulled the fish tape right off the conductors inside the conduit. This isn't good, Jason. It's going to cost them a lot of time now. They have to pull the wires out, reconnect the fish tape correctly and with the right amount of tape so it doesn't happen again.
Sounds like a disaster.
It's going to cost them a lot of time.
This is a tough competition. We may not have anybody finish.
A job like this, Jason, is something that we would have the better part of 4 hours to complete during a normal installation.
Final 40 seconds in our pro team competition.
Look at how much force he is pulling that wire.
Greg and Will, defending champs.
I mean, these guys are almost 6 feet tall, I think, and they're pulling those wires with all the strength they can muster out.
They will remember this forever, whether on video or just in the burn in their muscles. 20 seconds to go.
Look at how hard he's working. I mean, these guys are sweating. This is a triathlon here. These guys are working as hard as they can. You can see they're not looking up. They're not enjoying this at all. This is work.
You and your shirt is 2 different colors. You are working hard. 5 seconds to go. We're coming down to zeros, and that is it. In the pro team competition.
We have one team that
Only
finished.
one team finished, and they're downstairs with Chip.
How are we feeling?
Pretty damn good. Tired.
Did you guys finish before the time ran out?
Barely, yes.
How much time did we have? Wow.
13,
I don't know. What do we got?
17 seconds. You were the only team that finished.
Only team that finished? What?
Well, you guys did awesome. I can tell you worked super hard.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Here are the initial rankings for the pro team competition based on finishing time. Judges haven't yet weighed in on safety and overall craftsmanship, so it's anyone's guess who comes away with the win and a Ram ProMaster. Let's head down to Chip Wade with the winner announcement. Chip.
And the winner of the Contractors Challenge is Kellenberger #2. Come on up.
Congratulations to Kellenberger, too. They're going home with $20,000 each, and to their contractor, $20,000 in ideal cash, as well as that new Ram ProMaster. When we come back, the individual apprentice and pro competitions. You're watching the 2019 Ideal Electricians National Championship. Welcome back to the Ideal Electricians National Championship, where the Student Apprentice Finals are about to begin. The competition in the early rounds was fierce, pitting the top talent from coast to coast to compete for only 5 slots in the finals. The top 30 were cut down to 10, and after a hard-fought Student Apprentice semifinal, the final round is set. Here's a look at the 5 Student Apprentice finalists. 2018 champ Benjamin Budd is back looking for a repeat. Hot on his heels is Marty Evans and Michael Zarenda, followed by Jordan Finfrock and Timothy Emerson. Here's a look at the schematic breakdown of the Student Apprentice Finals competition, brought to you by Lucas Oil.
Student apprentice competitors will be installing the 3-phase 30 kVA step-down transformer. Challengers will need to drill holes in the panel board, transformer and fuse disconnect enclosure, properly size and install primary and secondary conductors and raceways. Cut, run, and mount all conduit, size and install conductors according to their assigned color codes, and properly size and install the system bonding jumper and the grounding electrode conductor. For this, they'll have only 70 minutes. All work must meet NEC standards.
All right, time now for the individual apprentice finals. Benjamin Budd, last year's champion. Countdown is on, and away we go. What are we looking at here in this competition?
They're taking a higher voltage located in the panel board on the left there. It's 480 volts. They're going to feed that voltage down into the transformer there, which is a 30 kVA transformer, and it takes the electricity and does exactly what it's supposed to do, transforming it to a lower voltage, something more usable, and it feeds it into the disconnect. From that disconnect, you would normally see it feeding a piece of equipment that specifically uses that type of voltage. Has to be color-coded correctly. Very important.
How about Marty Evans already looking to his left? I mean, it's tough not to pay attention to what the other guys are doing.
They're in close proximity here, Jason. No doubt about it. It's easy to get distracted. You can see right here he's working on getting the whole cord in the side of that transformer. That's pretty thick gauge metal, and you can see, man, that hole cutter does a great job at plunging right through there.
What's good craftsmanship there? What are you looking for?
Well, you've got to really pay attention to where those metal shavings are going. You don't want those inside the transformer. Can conduct electricity, and that's not good.
So look, Marty Evans has been here before. He knows the feeling. Benjamin Budd as well. There's got to be some value to these guys doing it individually and having been here before.
Certainly is. I mean, again, right now they're setting up to the panel itself. The second phase is going to be pulling the conductors, identifying which conductors go where they land, what color orientation they are, what colors they actually are. There are different colors with different voltages.
There's Jordan Finfrock. We saw him earlier in the team competition. What's he doing right there, Scott?
Well, you can see him working on the right side of that with his right hand, and his left side, he's basically attaching a connector so that he can connect that flex. Again, it's flex. It's a little easier to work with than conduit.
How about the saw technique here?
I like it. I really do. He's cutting across 2 of those splines. That's how you separate that flex, by cutting across 2 of them at an angle. And he can see here now he's pushing the wires through the flex. You know, with flex, Jason, there's no pipe bending. So they're able to put that wherever they want. They just have to secure it in the proper location.
I knew that already, yeah. Marty Evans down to the knees there.
He's got tools everywhere. See what happens when you put down a tool. It looked like it rolled off someplace, but when you put down a tool, it just disappears. I mean, he's looking for the socket that is required to tighten down those lugs. It's basically an Allen wrench on a 3/8 drive socket. Now, real handy.
Now that's something that everybody can understand, is looking for a tool and having it right under your nose.
Always the way it is. I mean, I got a pretty big nose, so I usually figure out where the tools are.
Every tool is under your nose at all times. And as he's looking for his tool, Benjamin Budd, who won last year, is just about finished. He is done.
Woo! Benjamin Budd just clocked out.
It's real nice to see the pros rooting on for the students and the competitors right there.
How you feeling?
Not too bad. I've done them before, but it's not something I do every day, so I had to make sure I thought about it as I went through it. So I was just trying to make sure I didn't miss anything and just go through it nice and easy.
We're proud of you, man.
Oh, thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
He's so cool and calm, man. He just finished quite a workout right there, and he's still mellow. I like that.
Benjamin Budd is celebrating his early finish. Now remember, finishing first is not the only thing. Time is only 10% of the final score. Jordan Finfrock's trying to button everything up and come back in this competition.
Yeah, you can see he's doing a great job here, making sure that everything gets back in its place on the cart. He hasn't forgotten anything. I mean, he could have a circuit breaker in his pocket. It looks like he checked to make sure he didn't.
Always good to check and see if you don't have a circuit breaker in your pocket. Words to live by.
30 seconds.
You're my man, Blue. We got an old school fan in the crowd. Very nice. 20 seconds remaining. Michael Zarenda still doing some work. Timothy Amerson as well.
Geez, it looks like he's looking for something as well. Right now he's making sure all the wires are landing where they're supposed to be landing. And Jason, with 8 seconds left, there's not a lot he can do at this point. He's giving it all he can at this point.
Fans are on the edge of their seat. 2 seconds, 1, and that is all. The individual apprentice competition has come to an end. A great competition. Big standing ovation for everybody. Here's the order of finish in the apprentice final. But again, don't forget, finishing time is only the start and part of the equation. The judges are doing their final review on craftsmanship, quality, and safety. When we come back, we'll find out the winners of the individual apprentice competition. You're watching the 2019 Ideal Electricians National Championship. We are back at the Ideal Electricians National Championship from Disney's Coronado Springs Resort in Orlando. It was a close finish for these 5 student apprentices. Defending champion Benjamin Budd faced his toughest competition yet against the other top 4 challengers who all made their first appearance in these student apprentice finals. It's time for the results. Let's head down to Chip Wade, who's got them for us. Chip.
Third place in the student apprentice competition goes to Marty Evans. Come on up. Congratulations. Second place in the student apprentice competition goes to Benjamin Budd. Nice job. Congratulations. And the winner of the student apprentice competition is Jordan Finfrock. Yeah! Congratulations.
Boy, congrats to Jordan Finfrock from Portsmouth Electrical JATC Local 575 on winning the student apprentice competition. This year's pro individual competition, a record number of registrants attempted to qualify, but only 70 made it to Orlando. The top 30 were cut down to 10, and the pro semifinals was the toughest one yet. It's a huge accomplishment to make it this far, but only 5 will advance to the final. We've got some familiar faces in the pro finals. Scott, your thoughts?
Some of these guys have worked together in the past. Now they're competing against each other. Joining them is 2017 third-place finisher Seth Agnew and newcomer Lee Lewis. That's a tough lineup right there. It's anybody's game right now, Jason.
Yeah, it sure is. These top 5 pros are going to throw everything they've got at the final round when the Ideal Electricians National Championship returns. We're about to crown the top electrician in America. These 5 pros know there's $75,000 in opportunity to compete in an international championship and a national title up for grabs. The stage is set. 5 pros are ready to get back to work. The electrical trade tackles a wide assortment of projects, some small, some large, and sometimes, as in Texas, they are huge. Let's take a look.
We do everything bigger in Texas. We are at Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas, home to the Guinness World Record holder, Big Hoss, the largest LED HD video board in the world. My first 6 months in the trade, I fell in love with it. I'm 19 years later, I still love it. They'll have us here on standby for NASCAR races, Indy races, whatever the events may be. That's game day for us. And you're working on the largest video board in the world. And so we take a lot of pride in that.
There's Jeremiah Bibby, just featured in Wire to Wire, eliminated in the earlier rounds, but still supporting these finalists.
The task at hand for the Pro Finals will require completing the electrical installation for an extension on an existing commercial building complex. They'll need to install a meter enclosure and connect a 4-foot rigid metal service riser with weatherhead and proper strapping, as well as to the service disconnect itself. 2-inch rigid metal conduit will run from there to the main lug electrical panel, where they'll install 8 circuit breakers. Finally, conductors will need to be installed in the service drop, a grounding electrode system, and be properly identified, terminated, and torqued. For this, they'll have only 70 minutes, and all work must be done to National Electrical Code standards.
Time now for the Pro Individual Finals. And can anybody take down Greg Anliker is the question. Lee Lewis, the newcomer to the finals, but Greg has done it twice, and he is studying up before time hits.
7, 6.
They're checking everything out, making sure they have everything.
3, 2.
Countdown's on, and off we go for the Pro Finals.
So you can see here they're grabbing the tools that they're going to need out of that bag. They're putting them in their pockets, breaking out knockouts. They're right at it. These guys are pros.
In a finals situation, you have some people who've been here before, but you have so many different paces, tempos, strategies. You see Seth Agnew going at a pretty high rate of speed. Other guys more deliberate.
They are. I mean, certainly everyone has different techniques. Seth is working what he has. He's getting the piece of equipment level there, which is really critical.
What piece of equipment are we talking about?
The disconnect. He was working on the electrical panel.
Going to the mouth there to carry a couple things for himself.
Yeah, making sure that everything's in place. I mean, it's a third extremity, right? He's using that as another vice to hold stuff.
I mean, with all the pressure, you get a little hungry, too, while we're here in the finals.
Cutting through that steel conduit 2 inches. It's taking that portable bandsaw, everything it has, but it does a nice, fine, efficient job. It's just changed everything.
How so? How so?
Well, we used to cut that by a hacksaw when it first came out, and that's a lot of back and forth for your elbows and your shoulders. This bandsaw, one motion, battery powered. The batteries can be used with the drills and everything, so it's real nice.
Here's another look at it, straight on through.
It's just amazing what technology has done for us. As electricians, we can use that to cut conduit and wire and just do so many things versatile. He's getting rid of the burrs on the pipe right there with the file, making sure that it just goes right into the connector.
When you say burrs, what do you mean?
When you cut that with a saw, it leaves these real sharp ridges, and they have to deburr it. It's part of it for the wires on the inside so they don't remove the insulation, and also to get it into the connector itself.
Will Barnett, Greg Anliker, guys who know each other very well.
Look
Seth
at him.
Agnew.
So, Jason, one thing. That panel weighs almost 60 pounds, and he's working it up on there on that wall. He's securing it to the wall itself.
Let's go to Chip Wade, who's standing by with a member of the judging team to get some insight on what they're looking for.
There's so much to judge in these competitions once the competitors are finished, but what do you look for actually while they're working?
So we're looking at their work practices, how safely they're working, how they use their tools, are they using them for the right tool for the right job. So there's a lot on the front end and there's a lot on the back end. So lot to do here. Well,
You have to keep your eyes on them. I'm going to let you get back at it.
All right, thanks
so much.
What we're looking at, where is it in a house or a business?
Well, this is a typical application in a small commercial building where you have the power coming in down into the meter socket. And then from the meter socket itself, it goes over to a disconnect. And from the disconnect, it feeds over to an electrical panel. Now, all of these things are rated 3R, it's called, which is weather resistant. It's all rated to be outside, exposed to the elements. That's what it is.
How about Seth Agnew?
He's using those ratcheting cable cutters, which is a great, great product for real tight spaces. But you know what? He's using a lot of energy here. You can see where he's just wrestling with those wires.
Let's watch it again in fast motion.
He's just kicking that wire around.
He made an obstacle course for himself, basically, is what happened.
What we have here is he's attaching those circuit breakers to the bus with a power drill. Saves a little bit of time, saves your wrist, and it's real important that those get tightened down.
Seth Agnew, he's basically sprinting through this whole competition.
He is flying. You know, he's working real hard. He's giving it everything he can. He's working fast. And you can see Greg just kind of a little bit more calm, taking his time.
All right, Lee Lewis, once again, all these guys using their mouth to hang on to a tool.
Well, you don't lose a marker if it's in your mouth, that's for sure. I'm not sure what it tastes like, but...
What's the marker for?
The marker is for identifying what phases go where. We use markers every day. I have one in my pocket right now.
I was going to say, people can't see you just reached into your pocket and pulled out a marker, so
Yeah.
you must be an electrician.
Well, I certainly don't use it to sign autographs, but...
Somebody from the crowd just yelled, "Send me to college, Dad." Become an electrician's son. Nice response.
That is a great response. That is the thought philosophy that we need in these trades right now.
Well, you got the combination of like sheer focus, but also wit while he's doing this. Pretty awesome.
Wow, that's a lot of work. He's trying to slam that wire up. It's getting stuck. And again, those are real thick, heavy wires, copper. You're wrestling with these. You're using a lot of forearm strength. And here you go, Greg, using that bandsaw again to cut the wire. Boy, I mean, that's using your head. He's real cool and calm and collected. So, yeah, right here, Seth is using the dead front cover, that's called, and he's trying to position those breaker blanks in the right locations. It looks like he might have got it upside down at one point. So those black spacers are supposed to be put in where there are no circuit breakers.
Under 40 seconds to go now. Greg Anlicker trying to put those finishing touches on in hopes of a third individual championship. Look at that hard work from Seth Agnew. Elbow grease all over the place.
He's setting the torque on that wrench. You have to pull back the collar, twist it to where you want to go, and whatever value it is, when you release it, and that's important. It's important to do. So you see, here's the marker, Jason. Danger, high leg. So one of the three legs has a higher voltage to ground than the other two, and it's identified in the code that you have to identify that leg, which phase it is, and he did that.
With 3 seconds to go, 2 and 1, and that is it. The Pro Finals have come to an end, and exhaustion for everybody. An hour of sheer craftsmanship comes to an end as we go downstairs after a big hug to Chip.
Greg, you all kind of came down to the finish line at the same point. At least you and Seth were neck and neck. What did you have remaining? What were you not able to finish?
I have black, red, and blue phase going up my aerial mast. Other than that, I believe I'm 100%.
Wow. I'm sure the quality is awesome, but it's going to be up to the judges to figure it out. Best of luck, and congrats, Brad.
All right, thanks.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Now it's up to the judges to figure out who is our champion. They'll all lose points for time, but there can only be one pro competitor headed to the international finals. Let's head to Chip Wade with the announcement.
The top 5 competitors, come on out. And now a winner has been chosen. And the winner of the professional individual competition is Greg Anlicker.
Greg Anlicker, for the third time, coming away with the pro title, and he is absolutely working on a dynasty. But does he have what it takes to win in an international field? Champions from Canada, China, and Australia will face off against U.S. champion Greg Anlicker when the 2019 Ideal Electricians National Championship returns. The 2019 Ideal Electricians National Championships is brought to you by Ideal Electrical, the Electricians champion. By Ram Commercial, built to serve. And by Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive. Welcome back. Here we go. They're on their way in, the 4 international competitors, all duking it out for the world title and that Ram pickup. Here's a rundown of the competitors here in the international competition. There's Jifu Wei from China up against Paul Hanania from Canada, Greg Anlicker from the United States, and Tom Maddock out of Australia. Let's take a look at the schematic breakdown of this international competition.
The international finals are a wiring challenge. The top electricians from the United States, Canada, Australia, and China will be completing challenges from each country's electrical standard. They're all doing the same task, but from different countries' electrical codes. So the challenge here isn't the intricacy, it's the unknown. On the Chinese and Australian panel, they're doing a circuit run to an outlet, switch, and junction box. On the Canadian and United States panels, both use EMT conduit, metal boxes, and THHN wire. They'll also run a circuit and push conductors, then terminate and energize the panel.
Here at the top of the challenge walls are the flags of each country. Once a competitor completes that country's challenge, they can move on to the next one. If their circuit is connected properly, the flag will light up when it's switched on. We're about to determine who is the world's best electrician.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
And we are underway for the first international contest in Ideal Championship weekend history. Greg Anlicker, diligent but also happy because his pockets are filled with money. $75,000 in the U.S. Championship. Of course you'd be pleased. But here, this guy, Paul Hanania, Calgary, Alberta. He is a jiu-jitsu champion as well. Very skilled in the craft, but he's also very organized and focused.
Working with this plastic boxes, it's pretty cool. It's even very unique for me. It's all clear, so you can see what you're doing, where the wires are going.
Jifu Wei defeated 1,500 hopefuls back in China, and now he's in Orlando. The Chinese champion, 23 years old. Agility, energy, he's got that youthful understanding. And by the way, we were talking about this earlier, to have young people into this industry, into this competition is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. This guy is super quick.
Meet Tom Maddock, the Aussie out of Melbourne with the big old beard. He's a general contractor, and he's 6'5", and the question is, does he even need the ladder that they've given him? And the other question is, if he wins the truck, will he fit in it?
You know, I'm not sure about that, but he does have an eye for detail. Speed might not be his strong suit, but he doesn't do something if he can't do it right.
Which is a good quality to have in this competition.
Well, Greg's working with wire colors that we normally don't work with in the United States here, but he's making it work. You can see he's trying to get the wires through, but he had to break apart the fitting right there. I really like that, how you can see the wire going up inside the conduit. If it gets hung up someplace, you just take apart the fitting, no glue involved, and push the wires right up inside. You can see the wires getting bunched up there a little bit. The conductor size, meaning the gauge of the wire, is a lot smaller than we're used to working with, so the wires will bunch up a lot easier.
Greg Anlicker's wife, Joni, looking on. Looks like we're having some technical issues down on the floor. Chip, what's going on down there?
It appears Greg Anlicker has completed the Chinese section of the challenge and moved on to the next phase. His light, however, is not coming on. We'll stay tuned to figure out what the issue is. Is it his wiring, or is there just something going on with the light?
The rules state that a competitor cannot go back to a stage that they've already moved on from. So if Greg did make a mistake on his wiring, he can't go back and fix it. We'll have to wait and see what happened. What's going on here?
Ji-Fu Wei has lost his helmet, and the rules state that if you do not have a helmet, you cannot do any work.
Well, it looks like he's trying to put it back together. He should be okay.
And a helmet comes from out of nowhere. There's a Texas flag. Is that Jeremiah Bibby's helmet that came flying in? Let's see.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, everything's bigger in Texas, but it's not supposed to appear out of nowhere. And so Chip is downstairs. Chip, what is going on down there?
All right, baby, what just happened?
Well, our friend here lost his hard hat. It got all broke. So I had mine in my backpack. I was like, hey, he needs a hard hat. Safety first, right? Got to protect the brain. So I was like, hey, man, go for it. So he's wearing our hard hat.
So now our Chinese competitor has a hat with a Texas sticker on it.
Texas
all
sticker.
right, just
Dallas
making sure
Cowboys.
we
Absolutely.
all understand what's going on. But
all in the name of helping.
That's right. Thank you for your generosity.
Absolutely.
Look at that. They don't know each other. And he saw a guy in need from a different country and tossed him his helmet to make sure that he could do the work.
Ji-Fu Wei is no joke. He's there, and he is a machine.
USA is the chant from behind Greg. Everybody's got beards in the U.S. side. The U.S. and Canadian fans, a little call and answer. Time winding down in the International Championship. Paul Hanania, Greg Anliker, what are they doing right here?
Well, you can see they're making up all the connections right now. Greg's stripping the wires with the T-stripper there, and he's pushing them in. And he's also, looks like he's got the armor band wrapped around that receptacle. That's real critical.
See the focus in the eyes of Greg Anliker, the U.S. champion, trying to become the very first international champion. Tom Maddock trying to finish that up. Let's see. Close the door, and there is the signal that he's done with the Australian portion of the wall. Now Greg Anliker is done, but again, he has one portion of the wall that did not light up.
Looks like the China portion of the wall didn't illuminate. Not sure why.
Let's check in with Chip and see what's going on down there. Chip.
Woo! You have to be just absolutely drained.
I am. Luckily, it wasn't heavy stuff here.
You finished before the time ran out. Everything looks good. All your lights seem to be on. We got to figure out what's going on this side. Hopefully, this is just a technical glitch with the light.
They got a bad light bulb.
Okay. Well, nice job. I know you pressed hard.
All right. Thanks.
Congrats on finishing up.
Thanks.
We'll see what happens.
So we are being told now that there was a piece of wiring that did not go as planned for Greg Anliker, so it's not a faulty bulb. It is actually a misstep. One competitor's done, and now two. Paul Hanani is done, and he is downstairs with Chip.
Wow, you worked effortlessly through this, it looked like. How was this challenge for you?
Good, because it's quite familiar. So I wanted to say something that I was more familiar with till later.
Sure.
And do the kind of weird things first.
So in the Canadian market and the American market, it's very, very similar.
Very much.
Very similar, but the Chinese equipment just seems very dissimilar to what you're probably used to.
It is, but it's still pipe, it's still wire, there's a good comparison.
Yeah. Well, hey, congratulations. Nice job finishing.
Thank you.
We'll see what happens.
The light goes on for Paul Hanania, and a huge cheer from the Canadian side. Ji-Fu Wei trying to finish the deal, the champion from China, and Tom Maddock from Australia. The only two still competing, two have finished. And now Ji-Fu Wei is done.
He is relieved, I'll tell you. I'm not sure, are those safety toe sneakers he's wearing? They look more like running sneakers.
What are you, the fashion police now?
Just saying.
Ji-Fu Wei, what an experience for him. He gets the safety helmet, he gets the hard hat coming from the crowd. And now Tom Maddock, the last one, the whole crowd is behind him. Tom Maddock, 30 seconds to go. He's going to be last to finish, so he's got to make up for that in craftsmanship.
You know, it's easy to make a mistake here, Jason. He doesn't want to get marked down.
Boy, he can't afford it, being the last one to finish.
Absolutely not. He has to be perfect if he's going to pull off this win.
The Aussie crowd at the very edge of the barrier and its seats. 10 seconds to go. Will Tom Maddock finish?
All right, he's got to screw that device in. That's the final thing he has to do.
3 seconds, 2, 1, and he just got finished right at zeros. Tom Maddock closes the deal at the very last moment. What drama in the very first international championship, and the light goes on.
The crowd goes wild. That is fantastic.
What a finish. A truly remarkable finish, and let's see if the craftsmanship and the work were good enough to overcome finishing last. And here are the results based only on finishing time. The American Greg Anliker finishing first, but will it be enough to turn his national title to an international title? Let's see if the Aussie Tom Maddock has the craftsmanship and the work good enough to overcome finishing last. So, if you're an electrician watching this, you want to be here. Go to idealnationals.com to sign up for the qualifying rounds and beat your competition to qualify for championship weekend.
There's a lot of great talent in the country. To all those pros and apprentices out there, sign up now so we can see you next year.
It's time for the winner announcement. The American Greg Anliker finishing strong, but will it be enough to turn his national title to an international title? It's time to find out.
The winner of the international competition and the brand new Dodge Ram is Tommy Maddock. Woo!
Another terrific day for the electrical industry, bringing the nation's and now the world's best and brightest together for a day to celebrate this crucial trade. Scott, your favorite moment?
It's pretty clear, Jason. No matter where you go, electricians are nothing short of amazing. But you gotta love an underdog story, and seeing the Aussie, Tom Maddock, come away with the win was such an exciting moment.
One of the great moments of this competition, as we thank you for joining us here at the 2019 Ideal Electricians National Championships. For Master Electrician Scott Caron, I'm Jason Benetti, and we say until next time, stay grounded, America.